Over the past couple of chapters, I have realized that an aspect that represents the novel is outcasts and isolation. So I think that from the creature to Saifi and her father, the Turk, they all have some point in their lives that they all have been outcasts, and in turn, to this outcast thing, they all have felt isolated. So starting with the creature, who, just like in the picture, feels like he's the ugly one, and in turn is insecure. The author says, "I imagined that they would be disgusted." So here the creature starts to realize that he's not like other humans and that he is different, and this makes him a complete outcast in the society that he lives in now. Also, the creature says, "When I looked around, I saw and heard of none like me. Was I, then, a monster, from which all men fled, and whom all men disowned?" So I think that since even his own creator turned his back on him, and this makes the creature think that he's really hideous then. So the creature thinks of himself as an ugly outcast from all of society. And all of this in turn just leads to the creature ultimately feeling bad about himself and leads him to isolation in the end. So also, Saifi is also an outcast, and she's not only an outcast by her religion, but I think she's also an outcast because she's a feminist, and she also speaks a different language than Felix and his family because she's in a foreign country, so that automatically makes her an outcast because she's not like everyone else that lives by the cottages. So at this time, not everyone believed in feminism, but Saifi was just like her mom, and her mom was also an outcast, so this makes her an outcast too. And in the end, this also leads her to isolation because since her father and her had to disagree on several different aspects like religion and who Saifi could marry, then this led for her to leave her father completely isolated. And her being isolated also for a time while she made her travels and made her way back to Felix. And lastly, another character that I realized was also an outcast is Saifi's father, the Turk. And this was mainly because of the way he looked, his religion, and his wealth. And this eventually led for his imprisonment because I guess the French government was like, well, how can this guy be Muslim and have this much money? He must be doing something illegal, so let's imprison him. And this is when the author says, "And it was judged that his religion and wealth, rather than a crime alleged against him, had been the cause of his condemnation." So this tells us that the government of France knew that the Turk was an outcast to society because he wasn't the religion that normal French people are, and he was different, and this is why they imprisoned him in the end. And in turn, after all of the situation of getting him out of prison and escaping and everything, and the Turk disagreeing with his own daughter, this in turn leads for the Turk feeling isolated in the end because his daughter left him and he doesn't really have much anymore.